When an adult goes missing, most of the time, we can point to something: a rough patch in a relationship, money problems, a situation at work that just got to be too much, and more often than not, that person turns up eventually. Sometimes people just need to step away and clear their head, right? Distance has a way of giving you perspective that you can't always get when you're right in the middle of something. But what happens when none of that applies? What happens when someone vanishes and the people who love them the most, the ones who know them better than anyone, can't come up with a single reason why? No arguments, no stress, no warning signs, nothing. That's exactly what we're dealing with today. I'm your host, Nikki B. Ware, and this is a case that is still unsolved, still very much on the minds of thousands of people across this country, and quite honestly, one that should have never gotten this far without answers. This is the case of Jelani Day, a 25-year-old graduate student at Illinois State University whose disappearance in August of 2021 left his family, his community, and investigators with more questions than answers. And some of those questions, they point to something a lot bigger than just one missing person case. Before we talk about what happened, I think it's really important that we take a minute to talk about who Jelani was, because it's really easy for these cases to become all about the details and lose sight of the actual person at the center of it. Jelani Day was from Danville, Illinois. He was the fourth of five kids, and he was out here doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing, working towards his future. He was studying speech pathology at ISU with plans to become a doctor. He had a goal, he had a plan, and by every account from the people in his life, he was showing up for it every single day. And here's the thing that really stuck with me when I was putting this together. Jelani called his mom every day, not once in a while, not when he remembered, every single day. So when those calls suddenly stopped, Carmen, his mother, didn't need anyone to tell her something was wrong. She already knew. Jelani was reported missing on August 25th, 2021. The last confirmed sighting of him was on August 24th at a Beyond Hello cannabis dispensary near ISU in Bloomington, Illinois. That's where the trail starts, but it doesn't end there. And this is where things begin to get complicated. 2 days after he was reported missing, his car, a white 2010 Chrysler 300, was found abandoned in a wooded area near the intersection of 12th Street and West Clocks Avenue in Peru, Illinois. That's roughly an hour away from Bloomington. And then, on top of that, surveillance footage from the Illinois Valley YMCA, near where his car was found, showed Jelani that same day wearing a completely different outfit than what he had on at the dispensary. So, the last place he was actually seen, it wasn't Bloomington at all, it was Peru. Now, I need to stop here for a second and give you some context about Peru, Illinois, because this matters more than you might think. Peru is what's historically known as a sundown town. If that term is new to you, here's the quick version. Sundown towns were communities that were exclusively white, and they kept it that way through racial segregation, discriminatory laws, intimidation, and in a lot of cases, outright violence. The name comes from the unspoken and sometimes very spoken rule that Black people needed to be out of those towns by sundown or face very serious consequences. This was made illegal with the Civil Rights Act of 1968, but here's the reality. The culture of sundown towns didn't just disappear because a law was passed. There are still accounts today, not ancient history, today, of Black people experiencing harassment, threats, and violence in these areas. And let's not forget mysterious deaths too. So when I tell you that Jelani Day, a young Black man, was last seen in Peru, Illinois, I need you to understand why that detail sits heavy. Now here's where my frustration with this case really kicks in, and I think yours will too. When Jelani first went missing, law enforcement's response was basically, he probably just doesn't want to be found. They treated it like he was a grown man who'd made a choice to disappear. End of story. But instead of actually trying to find him, they started going around asking people about his character. And when the family pushed for more, police told them they didn't have the resources to search for him. They didn't have the resources to look for a missing person. So his family did what so many of us do. We make it happen ourselves. They organized their own search party, made their own calls, and did the work that law enforcement should have been doing from day one. And then this part genuinely got to me. When Carmen went to ask about surveillance footage from the YMCA, police told her and the family that the cameras weren't working. No footage, nothing to see. Except that wasn't entirely true. Carmen pleaded for the Peru police to view video footage from the YMCA, but by the time they took the initiative to do so, which was 4 months later, the footage had been recorded over. I also want to point out something that a lot of people noticed at the time. While Carmen was doing everything in her power to get attention for her missing son, Gabby Petito's case was everywhere. Every channel, every platform, wall-to-wall coverage. And I'm not saying Gabby's story didn't deserve attention. It did. But the contrast in how these two cases were treated by both law enforcement and the media was hard to miss. It raised the question that a lot of people were already thinking. Was race a factor in how seriously Jelani's case was taken? I mean, it's a fair question. And unfortunately, the rest of this story doesn't make it any easier to answer. On September 4th, 2021, a body was found floating in the south bank of the Illinois River, about a quarter-mile east of the Illinois Route 251 bridge, roughly 60 miles from ISU. On September 23rd, that body was officially identified as Jelani Day. Now, I want to take a moment before I share what comes next, because it's a lot. And I think it deserves to be handled with care rather than just rattled off like a list of facts. The family, not satisfied with what they were being told by authorities, hired their own forensic professional to conduct an independent autopsy. What that autopsy revealed was deeply troubling. After 11 days of being missing, Jelani's body was severely decomposed. But the condition of his remains went beyond what you'd expect from being found in a body of water. He was missing his eyeballs, his fingertips, and his teeth. His jawbone had been cut out, and he'd had injuries that the family's forensic expert found deeply inconsistent with a simple drowning, which is what the LaSalle County Coroner's Office determined it to be. In fact, that expert said he didn't understand how authorities had even been able to identify the body as Jelani's, because by the time he received it, the only way he could make an identification himself was from the toe tag that was already attached. Despite all of that, police pushed the narrative that what happened to Jelani was self-inflicted. No evidence of assault, they said. But Carmen says that's not what the independent autopsy found, and she has documentation to back that up. I've linked her full interview in the show description, and I really encourage you to watch it and hear her tell it in her own words, because she lays it out all clearly and she deserves to be heard. After the family had that second autopsy completed, law enforcement cut off all communication with the Days completely. The case is technically listed as open, but it is not being actively investigated. Read that again. Open, but not active. Here's what I want you to take away from everything I just told you. This family refused to just sit down and accept that. Out of one of the most painful situations you can imagine, they built something. The Jelani Day Foundation was created by his family to make sure that other families going through something similar don't have to fight as hard and as alone as they did. The foundation helps cover the cost of things like travel, hotel stays, and private investigators for families searching for missing loved ones. They've also been able to give out scholarships in Jelani's name, so even in his absence, he's still helping people move forward. Right now, the family is running a postcard campaign aimed directly at the Illinois Attorney General and the governor. The message is simple. We want answers. We want real action, and we are not going away. You can go to voicesforjelaniday.com and purchase 2 postcards, one addressed to the Attorney General and one to the Governor. If enough of those start landing on their desks, it becomes a lot harder to keep looking the other way. So if this story moved you today, that's one very real and very tangible thing you can do to help. Before I let you go, I want to take a moment to honor Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood beside Carmen in her fight for justice and was present at Jelani's funeral. Rest in peace, Reverend Jackson. Your work mattered, and I hope it continues to echo. Real quick, I just wanted to correct something I said earlier. I said that Jelani was last seen in Peru, but he was actually last seen in Bloomington, and it was his car that was found in Peru. However, that doesn't take away the significance of what I said about Peru, though, because Jelani's body was found about a mile away from where his car was found. Take from that what you will. To everyone listening, I want to leave you with this. Cases like Jelani's are a reminder that we cannot afford to move through life on autopilot. Be aware of your surroundings. If you're traveling somewhere unfamiliar, tell someone where you're going. Check in with the people you trust. And if something feels off in a place, in a situation, in a person, trust that feeling. Don't talk yourself out of it. We also have to look out for each other. If someone in your circle suddenly goes quiet, no calls, no texts, no showing up, don't assume they just need space. Check on them. Push a little if you have to, because sometimes the people who need help the most are the ones who can't ask for it. Jelani called his mom every day, and when those calls stopped, she knew. Let's all be the kind of people who notice when something changes and who do something about it. As always, this is #IAM. And until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and keep demanding answers.